very detailed description of this mile-wide triangle craft traversing right over 7th Avenue and Indian School about that time as well.
Nothing's ever been made public, to my knowledge, about instructions on how to respond to a sighting at the base. However, I know that the Firefighter's Guide to Disaster Control that is endorsed by FEMA, I believe it's chapter 13 or 14, is completely about UFO sightings and how to respond to a crash. So that kind of lends a little credence to the whole story.
I try to dismiss and I try to find, like I said, I try to pick apart every story that, and when they came to the point of an unidentified flying object, that seemed to be the only one that I couldn't pick apart.
We kept saying, you know, what is that? What is that? And it wasn't until after the events happened and it disappeared to the south in the darkness that we went inside. We stayed outside for a couple seconds, then we went inside. And she sat on the couch, and I went to the bar, and I sit on a stool, and I took my glasses off, and we stared at each other for 5, 10, 15 minutes, who knows. And I got up, and I wanted to go back outside, and as I grabbed the door, I looked my wife right in the eye, and I said, we just saw our first UFO. And she looked at me back, and she goes, I know.
It was just amazing. The credible, wonderful, detailed descriptions that witnesses shared. And you knew it was from their heart. You knew that they had seen something extraordinary.
I like Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is probably the one that's true. It's an extraterrestrial spacecraft.
I'm learning that this is happening worldwide. What's going on here? What is this?
There's amber orbs here in Belgium, amber orbs in formation in the Soviet Union, triangle formation in Illinois. There's a triangle formation in New Jersey.
Many other countries, at least 20 other countries. Russia has been studying these phenomena for over 20 years, they admit, and their bottom line is that they feel they are unearthly. China has an elite group of scientists studying these phenomena. Japan built a museum. The government funded a museum so that they could promote universal peace. What a beautiful message. And just recently, Mexico, the Mexican Air Force has now come forward to say that they've had the sightings of these orbs around their aircraft, which, when you look at my pictures, are identical information and characteristics.
When you test the Mexico orbs, blow them up big and look at them, they look just like the Phoenix lights.
Dr. Richard Haynes, a very noted PhD psychologist, has been studying pilot reactions to these orbs. In fact, he's also studied what they called Foo Fighters in World War II. The identical phenomena, these rigid orbs in formation, just like what my husband and I saw outside our bedroom window in 1995. They've been around a long, long time.
Throughout recorded history, humans have been fascinated with the nature of light beings, of anomalous lights in the sky, which we sometimes interpret as angels, or we sometimes interpret as light beings, or we sometimes interpret as ETs, or we interpret as literally the shining God herself or himself.
Maybe these things have been occurring all of the time and we just haven't been paying attention to them. Or we've been told, like in The Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
There's way too much information, biblically as well as just religious writing, that talks about visitations, angelic presences, being taken up in a ball of light, you know, Ezekiel's wheel. You could just go on, you know, Bible story after Bible story talking about what was happening. Now, if we just start discounting witnesses and witness testimony, then we get in an awful murky place where we'd be tossing out probably 90% of the Bible.
There are tons and tons of paintings and pictures from Europe from the 16 and 1700s depicting things flying through the skies.
And part of that chunk of history is in acknowledging the existence throughout recorded history of phenomena like this and the roles that it have played in people's lives, and especially the, quote, native cultures who were open to receiving it.
The Gila River Indian Reservation on this side of the Estrella Mountains behind South Mountain, where they report that they look up and see it all the time and that they've been seen there for hundreds of years. That's why it's called the Estrella Mountains, gateway to the stars.
The name itself is symbolic. Historically, anciently, to the Native Americans, this is known as the crossroads here of the gods even. The Estrella Mountains, where the Phoenix Lights were seen, means stars. And those mountains were given that name because the Spaniards said that the Indians of the day said that's where their brothers would come and go, as if there's some kind of portal or gateway in the Estrella Mountains. And we have witness accounts, by the way, that suggest that very thing.
The lights are called the Sky People. Some of the Native American tribes, everyone is very differently. Some of them go out to seek them, to seek their knowledge, to find out what they know.
And even further, other governments like the Belgian government, the French government, the Brazilian government, the Mexican government have now opened up their files on all of this and simply supporting what we're saying here.
As far as our culture goes, we're way behind actually defining what I believe is a very real reality that a very high percentage of people have experienced.
I saw the Phoenix Lights, and then I saw very large orbs at a later date, 3 or 4 months later. Beautiful color, amber, and knew that they were intelligences and felt the emotion evoked in me was one of great warmth.
It has been reported many, many times that the witness felt that there was something in that light, a thought form, an entity, an intelligence, guidance and control that was behind it, knew that they were there. They could sense it, that they could feel it.
That really set me on a journey for 7 years. The first 4 years of which I actually started looking for a logical explanation, for a source and meaning for what I had witnessed and photographed. The more I look, the more I found. Such credible data from scientists, astrophysicists, nuclear physicists, astronomers, optical physicists, and on, that had been studying these phenomena for 20, 30 years. I had no idea.
I've been involved in hundreds of UFO cases in in-depth investigation. Thousands of pictures that I've looked at, about 1,000 that I've really examined in detail.
And when you look at the totality of the evidence, what is unique about Dr. Kitai's data, it is the most consistent, systematic, replicated set of information over a prolonged period of time that's been independently observed at various times by multiple individuals.
This is the only case that I know of where this much data exists over this amount of time, prior to and after a significant event.
This is one of my favorite photographs taken by Dr. Kitai. Taken camera in the same location, the lights in the same location as the Phoenix Lights, but taken a month after 9/11.
The film was what convinced me that the characteristics were not those of these halogen lights and airplane lights and all the other kind of lights that I could get a measurement on and look, make the graph of the different kinds of flares and separate out the color and the brightness. My conclusion about the Phoenix Lights is that there is nothing that I can get a match to at the data table. It's not Hale-Bopp, it's not stars, it's not aircraft lights, it's certainly not car lights. For a number of reasons, it's not flares.
If it's not some sort of technology that's made by us, then we have to seriously entertain the hypothesis that it is some sort of expression of highly intelligent beings.
The size of the craft on the Phoenix Light display seem to be far beyond anything that we have as a homegrown craft. So my suspicion is that it's precisely what we think it is. It's an alien craft.
Ultimately, it's going to be the people that will sort these things out rather than the government. And the worst thing that can happen to us would be as if the government said, well, it was flares, go back to sleep.
For a long time, since the 1940s, there's a concerted effort to try and keep this material from the public. And one of the easiest ways to do that is